What is going on, everybody? It's your boys, James and Gary with Team IBB, and we are standing here with a very, very special guest today. We are hanging out with the one, the only Representative John E. Barnes Jr.
Yay! James and Gary.
Thank you, John, for being here today.
How you doing, man? How you doing?
Now, we are extremely lucky to have Representative Barnes here with us today. He is going to talk to us about a few very important topics. So, James, go ahead and lead the way.
Well, first, I would love to hear kind of your little bio, little background about what got you into politics, and then two, just kind of what are your top three things that you're trying to focus on as you help the communities move forward?
Well, social advocacy, James, has been a way of life for me.
Awesome.
I grew up in the Lee Harbor community, which
Okay.
is right on the Cleveland side of Shaker and Maple and Warrensville Heights.
Okay.
And my dad served in Cleveland City Council for many years.
Fantastic.
And so I did a lot of volunteering.
Okay.
If it was at street parties, playing music, or helping kids, or advocating for this, or passing out leaflets for that. I did it since I was a kid, and so I always did it as a volunteer. And it was something that I appreciated because social change is really a way of life in a democracy where people always have different ideas about this, that, or the other. So we just keep moving, and we bring about change to make a more perfect union. And I think that's what's really important about what I do in the process. I enjoy helping people. You have to like people in order to do this.
Yes.
And
That's pretty important.
Exactly. Hey, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of build relationships.
Yes.
And relationships is so very important to get something done. And that's what's really been the thrust of what I do, to look beyond this idea, that idea. The bottom line in Columbus and the environment I work is how do you get the yes? And so we focus on trying to get the yes by listening to people and not being afraid to go in a room with people that you might disagree with and sit up and talk about how you can make incremental progress. And I think that's very important.
Yeah,
Right?
super important.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So on that note, what's kind of your first topic that you're trying to address as you move forward to help the community, and also too, now you're the current representative for District 12,
Right.
and you're running for Senate for District 25.
That is correct. Yes.
So that's obviously, there's a lot of main talking points, and I know for us, like from a business lens, is kind of how we see the world. So that's one of the things I thought was very cool is you're very big on economic growth. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I think we live in an area of uneven economic growth.
Okay.
And what that means is that in a lot of parts of the country, their economies are back to where they were prior to the economic downturn. And so our area is, while we have made significant progress, we're still not back where we need to be. We still have a lot of people who are unemployed. We still have issues with not growing a lot of businesses as much as we would like here in Lake County, where there's a large manufacturing base, a large service provider base operations. There's a need for access, and economic growth is opportunity. Economic growth begins with access to capital. It begins with having a ready workforce, and then of course it focuses on where the markets are for all of what we produce and the services that we provide. And that's very, very important. And so with access to the capital, I was a big supporter of Jobs Ohio. And Jobs Ohio has created about 180,000 jobs and about $8 billion in capital investment. And that's significant. To have an organization that is working like that. We're very proud of the work that Jobs Ohio has done with bringing in Amazon. Amazon in my district in North Randall, there was a development grant of $5 million, and in Euclid, there was a grant of $3.5 million.
Just a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
bucks.
But
So that's
that's an
fantastic.
investment in
Yeah.
the 3,000 jobs.
Yeah.
Isn't that great, guys?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's the potential, and so that's an example of what government can do to help open up the opportunity and keep the taxes where they need to be, keep all of the regulations where they need to be, and all in mind with protecting people and providing opportunity for people to build a better tomorrow.
Right. No, that's
So,
great.
and on the subject of opportunity, I know that education is one of your key pieces that you talk about as well. And I know for me, when my wife and I, even before my son was born, that was a big piece of where are we gonna live,
Right.
where we it's like, so there's this child who's not even real yet that
Right,
we're like
right.
making our our
He's
decisions.
real now.
Yeah, he's real now.
Right, he's real.
6
Right.
months now.
Right. But wait, I can assure you, he's real.
That's what I just diapered this morning. So, but it is very real. But so like when you're talking about education, and I feel like education, it's something to where it's just how you're talking about. Economic growth had to adapt. The state of Ohio had to adapt. To where you think of Amazon, you're like, oh, we're going to lose our jobs. But then you just created, you come in, you
3,000.
create jobs,
Right.
and so there's always a way to win. It's really always getting to yes. There's always a way to get to yes and to the win. So when it comes to education, what are some key things you feel we need, whether it is we need to keep, or we need to change, or what are some main things you feel are important moving forward for education to continue to have the educated workforce for those opportunities that the economic growth brings?
Well, getting to yes often requires listening a lot.
Yes.
We have to listen to the people. We
Yes.
have to listen to the people that we serve with, whose support we need to get something done. And then we have to look at the more broader context of what is needed right now. You have to think about what's the purpose of education. The purpose of education is to give our young people exposure to world-class opportunities and to begin that process. And I think that while we have made much progress with education, we still have a long ways to go. And a lot of the things that's happening is not good enough. And what I always say is that we have to be real and look at it in the context of really stop pretending that something is happening that's not happening. The truth of the matter is, for on average, most of our school districts, there are about 3 out of 10 students that are going to college, about 1.5 that are graduating, at least about 7 out of 10 students that rely on their high school education as a primary source of learning.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they don't go back later. It just means that at that particular point in time. So after 12 years, after kindergarten, K through 12, we need to give them more than just a diploma. We need to give them, I think, career technical education and vocational education to respond to the needs of not only them as individuals for soft and focused skills, but also to give our communities access to people who are ready to go to work.
Yeah.
People who are saying, for whatever reason, I want to stay home for a couple of years, I want to work and do this, I may want to save for college and that sort of thing. Yeah. And then also here in the 21st century, I think that with access to all the information that we have, you take your iPhone, for instance, right? Something that we all have. It wasn't too long ago that a football field would fill the tape drives for what's now less than what's on an iPhone.
Right.
So we have to think about the fact that the way that the system is moving very fast in terms of access to information, that our young people can go online, look up something, take that iPhone apart, put it back together. The same way that they know how to research information is the same way that we need to look at that as an opportunity and give them also other essential information. I'll give you, for instance, you'll take a lot of young people who go to career technical education, right? And they will go through those courses for 2 years. They will graduate and receive a certificate. Then you'll look at other young people who are going to our community college system. They'll go for 2 years and they'll graduate with an associate's degree. At the end of those 2 years, both those individuals will qualify in some instances to sit for a state examination, which qualifies them to do this, that, or the other. But why is it that after they have demonstrated what they've learned, that the child over here that has a certificate and this one over here has that, they have not received equal recognition for equal work? And that equal recognition would cut the cost of college education in half, because you've incentivized to a young person who now has the skills for a job that there's an opportunity here. We need to close that gap, and our office has been working on that because it's a federal issue, and we think it's important that we make sure that the investment that we are making in education is equal to what is needed today in the workplace. That's good, guys. You can smile.
I'm just like, yes,
Well, no, and
in
that's
my
what-
head. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what we need.
And for us, on our side of the desk, a lot of the conversations is, we become, life coaches, business coaches, career coaches by request from clients and other community people. But a lot of it just has to do with just, at least you're talking about K through 12, or even, you have, hey, this first week of school, we're going to learn X, check that box, okay, we move on to the next week. We always talk about like the getting trapped by success, and like it's just you're checking these boxes along the road, and it's like you're talking about the person that goes and gets an actual hands-on skill, like maybe they go in the trades or manufacturing, and it's wild to me how it's again, it's a lack of education for parents and grandparents, and just it was like, well, if you want to succeed, you have to go to college. Well, now it's like, well, especially in Lake County, the shift of, well, these manufacturers will pay for your college. Just go work, actually have a skill, have something you're good at, and can get paid for. So like you say it out loud, and you're like, it makes sense, but it just, the reality when you're talking about being in the real world is, I feel like people are afraid to step outside that college, like I have to go to college box. If that am I making sense at all? Like, is that?
Well, I mean, the idea is that in the real world is that we genuinely would like to see all children pick the college option. That's just the preferred preference, but that should no way suggest that children who select an alternative for career technical, for instance, you could go into robotics, computer design.
Yeah.
If you look at the companies that were started in people's garages, that is high tech today. Technology is a process of innovation. It's people who thought out of the box, people who thought that, wow, someday I can have a piece of metal the size of my palm that will help me to connect all over the world. That's thinking. We have young people who have those thoughts. There are a lot of young people. This is a real great example here, guys. There's a 9-year-old girl who started making lemonade. She's now selling to Target. So before she graduates and goes to college, she'll be a multimillionaire.
Wow.
Now, that's not to say that the objective is always just around finance, but it does say and speak to the level of thinking of a lot of our young people who can take advantage of the opportunity to move and say, I need these courses to do this. I may have family that were, for instance, in my family, I'm a 4th generation carpenter, right? My great-granddaddy used a hatchet, granddaddy used a handsaw, dad still uses a power saw, and I use a Sawzall. That's 4 generations, 4 different levels of technology in that area. I'm not suggesting anyway that everyone need to be a carpenter, but they may have a family that comes from programming,
Yeah.
So if they were in that environment, they understand it better than someone who hasn't. Or they may have one who was an inventor. They may have one who is this, that, or the other. And they can build on those skills in a way so that to take it to the next level based on updating and moving forward with innovation. So that's really the idea. But I think that we have to give, in the final analysis, give everybody an opportunity to express themselves in a way that will lead them to success. So as opposed to saying you can't do this, that, or the other, let's say, let me help you do this, that, or the other. And I think through our schools and through encouragement and helping to give people some inspiration to believe that they do have a stake in the future and a better tomorrow that can come from that, I think that that's great opportunities. See, and for that son or daughter that you have on the way, right?
Right. No, and that's where like you said, just because, like with my son, it's like I'm thinking back to that 9-year-old with her lemonade empire she's building. First thing when I think of lemonade, I think of the lemonade stand that I had that didn't make it. I lost money, just kind of like everybody drove by, nobody bought anything, but like. Just because something failed for me doesn't mean it's going to fail for my son. And you're talking about just because I'm a carpenter doesn't mean he has to be a carpenter. If that's his choice, cool. But like, I think you're hitting the nail on the head with empowering people to follow what they believe.
Well, at the end of the day, government should not be making choices for people along that line. That is something that parents encourage and help determine. But government gives you access to the information so that you can make an informed decision. And so I think that give you access to, if your family were engineers, or if your family were carpenters, or if they were this, that, or the other, to give you information on how you can bounce off of that if that's something you like to do to move on. There's a lot of people, they start doing this, that, or the other, and next couple of years, they say, let me do this, that, or the other, until they fix their thinking on something that they really want to focus on. So we have to make sure that we make the classroom experience one in which responds to their individual needs. It's almost like Burger King, have it your way, right?
No, and I love your example with the fourth generations of carpentry, and basically you're just explaining the evolution of everything, and then how forward thinkers are making things a little more automated, making things more efficient, just trying to make things easier for everybody. So encouragement is going to support all those different ideas. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, cool. So we got economic growth, education. So what's one final thing? I know you're talking about new markets. I believe it was like domestic and international. So like you could talk a little more about that and just bring it on home.
Well, I think that there are a lot of issues that are affecting people today. We have an aging population where we have to really take care of our seniors. We want them to be respected. We want them to be comfortable, and we want them to have an opportunity to contribute to those young people with their experiences for those that. And we also want to make sure that we're able to express ourselves in a cultural way. Our music, the development of a rich and vibrant community around the idea of having what Mom used to call just plain simple fun, right?
Yeah.
Right? Just a
Fun, what is
good
that?
old fun.
Never
Right.
Right? We're adults now. We can have fun.
Well,
No, that's awesome. Okay.
exactly. And so, we live in a global economy. So for that young lady that is selling lemonade, her next step is not only to be in Target, but her next step is to look at how she can sell that to companies that are abroad.
Yeah.
And so government plays a role through working with other governments to say, hey, look, guys, I have bottles of this over here, bottles of lemonade. It's fantastic lemonade. The branding's right. The bottle packaging is right. we're ready to move to a different nation now. We want you to consider looking at this. That is how opportunities, how global branding is developed with the internet and what have you. And so all of that, I believe, is like new market strategies. But those new market strategies also could be to the next city. It could be over to Mentor as opposed to Eastlake. It could be downtown Cleveland.
Right.
It could be anywhere where that market begins. And so we call those new market opportunities that I believe is important for people to be aggressive, to move forward in a way. But government can help access that just by virtue of the fact that you're there.
Right.
And by virtue of the fact that we have a responsibility to build our economy. Ohio is the 7th largest economy among the states and the 22nd largest economy in the world.
Nice.
And so if we do it right,
Yeah.
if we come together, we work together, and we stand together, I believe there's an opportunity for us to build new companies, to bring new ideas, to move to the next level in a way where we're not only sustaining the jobs that we have, but we're creating the jobs for tomorrow.
Perfect.
I love that. Thank you
Wonderful.
Yeah.
so much for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Partners is okay.